Welcome to the Pariksha Academy. Today's topic is protection in respect of convictions for offences 20. Protection in respect of conviction for offences, Article 20. Article 20 is an important fundamental right contained in Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. It protects individuals against arbitrary exercise of the state's criminal and punitive powers. The basic purpose of Article 20 is to ensure that a person is protected against retrospective criminal laws, prosecution and punishment more than once for the same offense, and compulsion to give evidence against oneself. The protection of Article 20 is not limited to Indian citizens. It is available to both citizens and foreigners. Article 20 provides three major constitutional protections. Protection against ex post facto criminal laws, Article 20 Clause 1. Protection against double jeopardy, Article 20 Clause 2. Protection against self-incrimination, Article 20 Clause 3. Protection against ex post facto criminal laws. According to Article 20 Clause 1, no person can be convicted for an act that was not an offense under the law in force at the time when the act was committed. The basic principle is that if an act was not an offense when it was committed, a subsequent law cannot retrospectively make that person criminally liable for that past act. For example, if an act was lawful in 2025 and a law enacted in 2026 makes that act an offense, a person ordinarily cannot be convicted under the new law for having committed that act in 2025. This is known as protection against an ex post facto criminal law. Article 20 Clause 1 also ensures that a person cannot be subjected to a penalty greater than the penalty prescribed for the offense at the time when it was committed. For example, if the maximum punishment for an offense was 3 years of imprisonment when the offense was committed, and a subsequent law increases it to 7 years, the enhanced punishment cannot be imposed retrospectively for the earlier offense. This protection primarily concerns criminal liability and punishment. Article 20 Clause 1 does not ordinarily apply to civil liabilities in the same manner as it applies to criminal conviction and punishment. The prohibition against retrospective criminal laws does not mean that every criminal law must necessarily operate only prospectively. If a subsequent law is beneficial to the accused, such as one reducing the punishment, Article 20 Clause 1 does not prohibit the retrospective application of such a beneficial provision. In Ratan Lal v. State of Punjab, the Supreme Court accepted the principle that a beneficial penal provision may be given retrospective effect in favor of the accused. The protection under Article 20 Clause 1 relates to conviction and punishment. Every retrospective change in criminal procedure does not necessarily violate Article 20 Clause 1. If a procedural law is changed without making an act criminal that was not previously an offense, and without imposing a greater punishment than was previously prescribed, its retrospective application does not necessarily violate Article 20 Clause 1. Protection against double jeopardy. According to Article 20 Clause 2, no person shall be prosecuted and punished for the same offense more than once. This constitutional protection is known as protection against double jeopardy. Its basic purpose is to prevent the state from repeatedly subjecting a person to criminal prosecution and punishment for the same offense after that person has already been prosecuted and punished for it. The words prosecuted and punished in Article 20 Clause 2 are important. Merely having faced an investigation or an administrative proceeding earlier does not automatically attract the protection of Article 20 Clause 2. The previous proceeding must amount to prosecution, and the person must have been punished in the constitutional sense. In Maqbool Hussain v. State of Bombay, the Supreme Court examined this principle in the context of proceedings before customs authorities followed by criminal prosecution. The court held that proceedings before customs authorities did not amount to criminal prosecution before a court or judicial tribunal. Therefore, the subsequent criminal prosecution was not prohibited by Article 20 Clause 2. In S.A. Venkataraman v. Union of India, the court further clarified, in the context of departmental proceedings followed by criminal prosecution, that every departmental or administrative proceeding does not amount to criminal prosecution. Therefore, Disciplinary action against a government employee followed by criminal proceedings arising from the same conduct does not necessarily violate the constitutional protection against double jeopardy. Article 20 Clause 2 applies to the same offense. If a single incident gives rise to two distinct offenses having different legal ingredients, the mere fact that both proceedings arise from the same incident does not necessarily mean that the person is being prosecuted twice for the same offense. The language of the Indian constitutional protection is not identical to the American doctrine of double jeopardy. Article 20 Clause 2 specifically prohibits a person from being prosecuted and punished more than once for the same offense. Criminal procedural law may also provide additional statutory protection against a subsequent trial following an earlier conviction or acquittal, and such statutory protection may operate more broadly than Article 20 Clause 2 itself. Protection against self-incrimination. According to Article 20 Clause 3, no person accused of an offense shall be compelled to be a witness against himself. This protection is known as the right against self-incrimination. For this protection to apply, the person must be an accused of an offense. Another essential element is compulsion. A further requirement is that the person is being compelled to become a witness against himself or herself. The purpose of this protection is to prevent the state from forcibly obtaining evidence from an accused that is based on the accused's personal knowledge and may be used against that person in criminal proceedings. In Nandini Satpathy vs. P.L. Dani, the Supreme Court gave a broad interpretation to the protection against self-incrimination. The protection is not confined merely to statements made during a trial before a court. Depending upon the circumstances, an accused cannot be compelled during police interrogation to answer questions that have a real tendency to expose that person to criminal liability. This does not mean that an accused has an absolute constitutional right to refuse to answer every question. The protection concerns compelled answers that carry a real possibility of self-incrimination. Article 20 Clause 3 does not prohibit voluntary statements. If an accused voluntarily provides information without coercion, threat, or compulsion, Article 20 Clause 3 is not violated merely because the information later proves useful against that person. Difference between being a witness and providing physical evidence. The distinction between testimonial evidence and physical evidence is important in understanding Article 20 Clause 3. In State of Bombay vs. Kathy Kalu Oghad, the Supreme Court clarified that the protection against being compelled to be a witness against oneself does not create a right to refuse every form of physical evidence. Fingerprints, handwriting samples, signature specimens, and certain forms of bodily or identifying evidence are generally not treated in the same manner as compelled testimony based upon the personal knowledge of the accused. Therefore, obtaining such physical or identifying evidence does not necessarily violate Article 20 Clause 3. In contrast, compelling an accused to use personal knowledge to provide oral or communicative testimony that may furnish incriminating material can attract the protection against self-incrimination. Narco-analysis, polygraph tests, and brain mapping. In Selvi vs. State of Karnataka, the Supreme Court delivered an important judgment concerning the compulsory administration of narco-analysis, polygraph tests, and brain electrical activation profile tests. The court held that involuntary administration of such techniques, through which communicative responses are obtained from a person's mental processes, affects the protection against self-incrimination under Article 20 Clause 3. The court also connected the issue with personal liberty, mental privacy, and human dignity under Article 21. Therefore, the investigative powers of state agencies are not unlimited. Investigative techniques must be balanced against the constitutional protections available to an accused. Documents and self-incrimination. Compelling the production of every document does not automatically amount to a violation of Article 20 Clause 3. An important consideration is whether the accused is being compelled to use personal knowledge or mental processes to create or communicate testimonial material against himself or herself, or whether independently existing material is merely being obtained. Therefore, the application of Article 20 Clause 3 to documents, digital material, and other evidence depends upon the circumstances and the nature of the evidence involved. Search and seizure. A search and seizure conducted according to law is generally distinguished from compelling an accused to become a witness against himself or herself. In MP Sharma vs. Satish Chandra, search and seizure were distinguished from compelled self-incrimination under Article 20 Clause 3. In the modern constitutional framework, however, state action involving search, seizure, and digital data may also be examined in the context of privacy, statutory authority, and other constitutional requirements. Article 20 in National Emergency. Article 20 enjoys special constitutional protection. After the 44th constitutional amendment, the power under Article 359 to suspend the right to move a court for enforcement of specified fundamental rights cannot be extended to Articles 20 and 21. Therefore, the protection provided by Article 20 cannot be suspended even during a national emergency. This safeguard reinforces the principle that even during an emergency, the state cannot retrospectively criminalize an act, prosecute and punish a person more than once for the same offense, or compel an accused to become a witness against himself or herself. The fundamental constitutional philosophy of Article 20 is based on fairness in criminal justice and limitations upon the punitive power of the state. Article 20 Clause 1 ensures that criminal liability and harsher punishment are not imposed retrospectively. Article 20 Clause 2 ensures that a person is not prosecuted and punished repeatedly for the same offense. Article 20 Clause 3 ensures that an accused is not compelled to provide testimonial evidence against himself or herself. Thus, Article 20 does not prevent the state from investigating offenses or punishing offenders. Instead, it ensures that these powers are exercised within definite constitutional limits, in accordance with fairness, individual liberty, and human dignity. Thank you very much for joining us. For more useful study material, please like and share this video, and subscribe to the Pariksha Academy channel.